Which one of these is correct? Der Mann hat einen Freund, or der Mann hat einer Freund, or maybe der Mann hat einen Freund. Well, if you're learning the German language, then it can be really difficult trying to decide which article we're meant to be using. Is it ein, eine, einer, die, der, das, dem, des, or any of those other many forms? Or maybe you've heard of all of those confusing cases, the nominative, the accusative, the dative, or the genitive. Here's a bit of a summary. As we've said, the nominative case is pretty much dedicated to the subjects of our sentences. These help us to think about who's doing what the verb says they're doing. And we can recognize them because we use these articles or these pronouns. The accusative case has a few different jobs too. It's mostly used for helping us to identify direct objects, but also to draw our attention to some prepositional objects. But it's also used for a lot of places we go to or destinations of things we're moving around. And we can recognize the accusative case because we use these articles and these pronouns. The dative case does pretty much everything else. It's really handy. We can use them to indicate recipients of something, since the indirect objects of sentences are always in the dative. We can also use it for the objects of some useful verbs, like these ones, but we can also use them for some prepositional objects. We can also use the dative to indicate location, or with some adjectives to convey personal perspectives. And we'll recognize these functions because we'll be using these articles or these pronouns. Well, this just leaves us with the genitive, which we covered in a recent video, and if you missed it, you can watch it up here somewhere. The genitive really only has two jobs. Firstly, it indicates possession, that one thing is another's. And secondly, it indicates the objects of some prepositions, often the same ones in English that contain the word of, like instead of, because of, in spite of, and so on. It can be recognized because we'll be using these articles. So those are our cases. They narrow down the various functions of nouns and pronouns in a sentence to two main things: subjects and objects. They then tell us what sort of objects we're using. To help us understand what the function of the nouns are in the sentence, the articles or pronouns undergo subtle changes, which can be a little confusing unless you know what you're looking for, especially since articles and pronouns have two main jobs. They tell us not only what the function is of the nouns, but also their gender. But that's a story for another day. If you're interested in learning more about cases, you should watch this video next. Also das war's dann für heute. Danke fürs Zuschauen. Auf Wiedersehen und Tschüss.